I'd like to tell you about is the 5 steps to enlightenment. And these are actually the ways in which an enlightened being, or someone who has very expanded consciousness and awareness, it's the ways in which they live their lives. And so as we go through our lives, it's helpful if we are aware of the ways that we could begin to improve things, and we could begin to have a new idea about life, and a new way in which each one of us can step forward and begin to understand the powerful potential that's here within each one of us. And if we want to tap into that potential, if we want to really join with this divine force that is just flowing within us, these are the ways that we can do that, because we are here as divine beings inhabiting a physical form. So we are the combination of heaven and earth. We are the divine in physical form. And so most of us are living our lives as the physical human form. And it's guided by the mind, our physical form, our mind, our ego, our personality. All of that is part of this human form. And if we want to begin to experience more, much more, of the divine form, there are some very simple things that we can begin to practice. And I say simple because in the words they are very simple. But in the actual doing of it, it can be challenging because we are requesting our human form to incorporate something divine. And so the very first step in these 5 steps towards enlightenment, the very first step is quiet the mind. Now the mind is a fantastic tool, and it can do all kinds of things in terms of guiding our consciousness, helping us to accomplish things in the world, beginning to see that we can stay safe, take care of ourselves, begin to step forward in whole new ways. The mind is fantastic. And it is really at its best leading us in the human activities of life, the first 3 chakras, the 3 dimensions, the first 3 dimensions, those areas in which we develop the personality, we develop the healthy ego, meaning one that is fully cared for already. It doesn't have the neediness. We develop the personal will, the one that's healthy, so it doesn't have to enforce any power, any willfulness on anyone else. So the very first step, though, is to quiet this mind, because it's really programmed, really guides us in the first 3 energy centers. And those energy centers are the beginning steps towards the incorporation of the divine part of our being, that divine beingness. So if we want to move beyond the human form and into the divine form, we must first quiet the mind. And when we begin to quiet the mind, then we have an opportunity to receive other kinds of ideas about life, other kinds of ways to be here, new ideas, new beliefs, new understandings, and new experiences. So the first step of the 5 steps is quiet the mind. Then the next step, once the mind is quiet, trust the process. Now when we're going through the development of the first 3 chakras, our human experience here in the physical realm, the 3D world, the 3 chakras, trusting the process is usually difficult for us, because the mind likes to control things. It wants to control and manipulate the outcome. So when we begin to trust the process, we begin to understand that there is something magnificent guiding, directing, supporting, encouraging, loving each one of us, and that every single activity in life is unfolding us into the next step on our individual path, the very next step for us. So if we can trust the process, no matter how it looks on the surface, no matter how chaotic or seemingly unpleasant it might be, if we can trust that this is our opportunity to begin to have a whole new awareness and take the next step on our path, then it's easier, and we must have a quiet mind before we can really begin to trust the process. And as we trust the process, we begin to let go of outcome. Letting go of outcome means we are no longer trying to control how the world responds and reacts to us and the kinds of situations that we encounter. So this is a challenge because in the first 3 chakras, we are learning how to control. We are learning how to manipulate the outcome. We are learning how to do these things, how to use the laws of attraction, how to state our beliefs, how to use affirmations. And that's all part of our development through the first 3 chakras via the accommodations and the use of the mind and the abilities of the mind. And as we move beyond the mind and up into the heart center, that's when we begin to really have a magnificent expansion of our understanding about life and the world and who we are as we go beyond the mind, beyond the first 3 chakras, and up into the heart center. So quieting the mind is the first step. Trusting the process is the second step. This lets us release the control or the desire for a specific outcome, so we no longer manipulate and control life. Then the third step is to be in gratitude. Because when we are in gratitude, we open the doorways into the divine kingdom for all of that wonderful, wonderful energy to flood through us. We are in that place where we are allowing our DNA to evolve into its next levels of consciousness. We are allowing every cell in our body, which contains the DNA, to become more awakened, to relax, to open, to expand. So gratitude is one of those very high frequency vibrations where we can feel gratitude just for the ability to be alive. For anything that will generate gratitude is wonderful. And that will bring our vibration up and allow our DNA to transform itself, to regenerate, to go into its next steps of awakening. So each cell in our body contains DNA, and we can therefore begin to expand ourselves simply by being in that high vibration that we understand as gratitude. So first we quiet the mind. Then we trust the process. Whatever is unfolding for us is the path that we are on to move us towards our enlightenment or our awakening. Then we are in gratitude. Gratitude for all of life, for all that we have, for the wonderful being that we get to experience here within this human form. And then, after we've quieted the mind, trust the process, and we're in gratitude, then we begin to touch into that deep internal knowing that's known as guidance. Deep internal knowing, that little urge, that feeling that this is what is next, that sense that this is my next step, the knowing of the rightness of this particular moment. That's our guidance. That's our guidance system. It's divine. It's divinely inspired, and it's with us every single moment of our lives. It's with us from the very first breath we take, each birth, all the way through to the very last breath we release as we go on into the next levels. So guidance is essential, and it's there all the time. And for us to really follow this deep internal guidance system, we really need to have the mind quiet, because the guidance system is gentle. It's respectful. It's compassionate. It's very simple in its messages. The mind, on the other hand, roars at us, is demanding. It's like the dragon, demanding certain kinds of responses, demanding certain kinds of actions, demanding that we stand up and be angry or confront or take care of beyond certain kinds of boundaries. And that's a normal development through the first 3 chakras, all of that kind of boundary setting and understanding about who we are and ego development. And when we want to go beyond that, then we tap into this next level of understanding that dwells within the heart center, farther up, above the control of the mind. And we tap into this guidance, this great divine guidance that's within each one of us all the time, singing its song happily, waiting for us to notice that it's there, waiting for us to pay attention to the deep urgings and the gentle whisperings that it's been offering to us all of our lifetime. And when we finally tap into that deep guidance, that simple knowing, that deep heart longing, as we touch into that, then we are prepared to take the next step in life, the next step on our path to enlightenment. And that is the 5th step of the pathway to enlightenment. Take the next step, which means take action. From that great point of wisdom and connection inside, that quietness, that peacefulness, now we can be in a state that we can move forward easily on our path and take the action that's required as the next step. So when we want to do the 5 steps of enlightenment, and we want to really accelerate our growth, the first step is quiet the mind. The next step is trust the process. The third step is be in gratitude. The fourth step is follow your guidance. And the final step is take the next step. So when we begin to put all of this together, we are then in a way, gathered together inside of ourselves in an alignment that will allow us to take the next perfect step on our individual path.